It was a bright afternoon when a tall, confident black woman walked into Royal Living, a luxury furniture store in the heart of the city. She wore a smart navy blue coat, high heels, and carried a sleek black handbag. Her walk was calm. Her eyes scanned the room, searching for something specific. Behind the counter, Claire, a white woman in her early 30s, noticed her immediately. Claire's eyes narrowed. She leaned toward her coworker, whispering, "Have you seen her before?" "No," her coworker replied. The woman approached with a warm smile. "Hi, I saw a beautiful office desk online. Walnut wood, gold handles. Is it in stock?" Claire didn't smile back. Her hands quietly reached under the counter. She pressed the record button on her phone. She nodded slowly and said, "Let me check in the system." But instead of checking, she stepped away and whispered on the store phone, "Yes, I'd like to report suspicious behavior. A black woman just walked in and is acting strange. I think she might be trying to steal something." The woman, still unaware, moved closer to the display section, admiring the furniture. She gently touched the edge of a glass table, smiled at its shine, and looked around the store with interest. 10 minutes later, 2 police officers walked in. Everyone turned. The woman raised her eyebrows in surprise but stayed calm. "Ma'am," one officer said, "we need to ask you to step outside." "Why?" she asked politely. "There's been a complaint." Claire watched proudly from behind the counter, arms crossed. The woman took a deep breath, looked around at the shocked customers, then looked straight at Claire. She smiled softly and said, "I think there's been a mistake." She reached into her bag slowly and pulled out her phone. Her voice was calm but firm. "Let me call someone." She dialed a number and waited. When the call connected, she spoke only one sentence. "It's happening. I'm coming in." Then she put the phone back in her bag and said to the police, "Follow me if you'd like." The officers hesitated. Claire looked confused. The woman walked calmly toward the back of the store, toward the door marked Paragraph 8. Part 2. The owner arrives. Claire panicked. "Hey, you can't go in there," she shouted, running from behind the counter. But the woman didn't stop. She opened the door and stepped inside the private office. The police followed but stayed quiet. They were starting to understand something wasn't right. Inside the office, everything was clean and professional. On the big desk was a golden nameplate. It read, "Amara Johnson, owner." Claire froze. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Her eyes darted between the nameplate and the woman now sitting confidently in the leather chair behind the desk. You work here?" Claire stammered. "No," Amara said calmly. "I own this place." Claire's knees felt weak. She leaned against the wall for support. One officer cleared his throat. "We apologize, Ms. Johnson. We didn't know." Amara nodded. "I understand. You were just doing your job." She turned her gaze toward Claire. "But some people, they make dangerous calls based on nothing." Claire whispered, "I didn't know." "That's the point," Amara replied. "You didn't even want to know." There was silence in the room. The co-workers outside the office peeked through the glass window, shocked and speechless. Amara placed her hands gently on the desk and looked straight at Claire. "Let's talk about what just happened." Claire looked like she might cry. The store had gone quiet. Everyone was watching the tall black woman walk toward the Paragraph door with slow, confident steps. Her heels clicked softly on the shiny wooden floor. The police officers followed, unsure but respectful. Claire stood frozen behind the counter, confused and nervous. Then reality hit her. Claire's eyes widened. "Wait. No, you can't go in there," she shouted, rushing out from behind the counter. Her heart was racing. Her voice cracked as she called after the woman. "That's for staff only. You need to stop." But the woman didn't stop. She opened the Paragraph door like she owned it. And she did. Claire reached the door just in time to see the woman step inside the office. Claire hesitated at the entrance. Her breath caught in her throat. Inside the office, everything looked professional and expensive. A large desk sat in the middle of the room, clean and polished. Family pictures were placed neatly on the shelves. There were awards on the wall, awards for business, leadership, and community service. And then Claire saw it, a golden nameplate on the desk. It read, Amara Johnson, owner. Claire's mouth dropped open. Owner, she whispered. The woman, now clearly Amara Johnson, calmly walked behind the desk and sat down in the leather chair. She took off her coat, placed her bag beside her, and looked up at Claire with steady eyes. Claire felt dizzy. Her legs weakened. Her face turned pale. She grabbed the edge of a nearby table for support. The police officers stepped back quietly. One of them spoke, voice low and respectful. Ms. Johnson, we're very sorry. We didn't know. Amara nodded politely. Thank you. I understand. You were just responding to a call. Then she turned her gaze to Claire. Her eyes didn't show anger. They showed disappointment, and that somehow felt worse. Claire tried to speak. Her voice trembled. I didn't know. I mean, you didn't say. Amara leaned forward, placing her elbows gently on the desk. I didn't say anything because I wanted to see how I would be treated. Claire swallowed hard. I thought maybe you were. Amara held up a hand. Let me guess. You thought I didn't belong here. Claire didn't answer. Her eyes filled with tears. Amara continued, her voice calm but firm. You judged me. You didn't ask my name. You didn't offer help. You just saw me, made a decision, and called the police. I was just being careful, Claire said weakly. Were you? Amara asked. Or were you being biased? Claire had no answer. She looked at the floor, ashamed. Amara stood up from her chair and walked slowly toward Claire. She didn't shout. She didn't raise her voice. But every word she spoke carried weight. Do you know how many people like me walk into stores and get treated like they don't belong? Do you know how many business owners look like me, but still get followed, questioned, ignored? Claire whispered, I didn't mean to. But you did, Amara interrupted. And your actions had consequences. You called the police on a customer who asked a simple question. The co-workers outside stood silently, watching through the glass window. No one said a word. Amara stepped back and looked around the office, her office. I built this store with everything I had, she said. Years of hard work, late nights, rejection, and sacrifice. And even now, people still assume I don't belong. Claire's tears rolled down her cheeks. She tried to wipe them away, but they kept coming. Her voice broke as she said, I'm so sorry. Amara walked back to her desk and sat down again. It's not just about saying sorry, she said. It's about understanding why you did it. It's about changing. Claire stood silently, the weight of her mistake crushing her from the inside. Amara looked at her one last time. Let's talk about what just happened. Amara sat quietly at her desk. The room was still heavy with silence. Claire stood frozen, her face pale, her heart full of regret. Outside the glass window, the other employees were whispering, watching the scene unfold. But Amara's mind was far away now, somewhere deep in the past. 10 years earlier, Amara was 23, living in a small one-bedroom apartment with her younger sister. Their parents had died when they were still teenagers. Life had never been easy. Bills were always behind. Food was sometimes a luxury. Amara worked 2 jobs, as a waitress during the day and as a cleaner at night. She barely slept. But every night, before bed, she opened a small notebook where she had written one sentence on the first page. One day, I will own something big. She loved furniture. Not just chairs and tables, but design, style, and beauty. Every time she cleaned a fancy office or waited in a luxury hotel, she looked at the furniture and imagined, what if I created this? What if my name was on it? She started learning. She watched YouTube videos, read online blogs, even took free business classes at the local library. Her mind was hungry. Her heart was ready. One day, she walked into a small bank to ask for a loan. She wore her best clothes and practiced her speech all night. But the manager didn't even let her finish. "Do you have any business experience?" he asked. "No, but I have a plan. We don't usually give loans for online furniture ideas. It's too risky." She left the bank holding back tears. On the way home, it started raining. Her notebook got wet, but the first sentence stayed clear. "One day, I will own something big." Amara didn't give up. She started small, making handmade furniture from used wood in her friend's garage. She sold pieces online. The first few months were hard. Some days, no orders came. Other days, the wood cracked, and everything failed. But one order changed everything. The local Instagram influencer posted a photo of one of Amara's chairs. "This is handmade by a brilliant black woman in the city," the caption read. The post went viral. Suddenly, everyone wanted her designs. Orders started coming in. Her website crashed from too much traffic. She cried that night, not because of pain, but because of hope. Months passed. Then a year. Amara hired her first helper. Then 2 more. Her small workshop became a full team. She worked harder than ever. She saved every dollar. One day, she stood in front of a large empty store building. It used to be a furniture shop. Now it was closed. Amara walked around it slowly. The same building had once rejected her job application. The manager told her back then, "You're not really the kind of person we hire here." Now, years later, she was back. Not to work, but to buy. She signed the papers with shaking hands. The lawyer smiled and said, "Congratulations, Miss Johnson. You are now the owner." Amara stood outside the building with tears in her eyes. She looked at her reflection in the glass window and whispered, "You belong here. You always did." Back to the present. Claire was still standing across from her, silent, broken. Amara looked at her, then at the golden nameplate on her desk. "You judged me in 10 seconds, Claire. But my journey took 10 years. Claire's lips trembled. "I never knew." "You didn't want to know," Amara said gently. "That's what hurts the most." Claire wiped her tears. "Please, I want to understand. I want to do better." Amara looked at her for a long moment, then stood up. "Then listen, Claire, and listen well." The room was silent, heavy with emotions. Amara stood tall behind her desk, eyes locked on Claire. No shouting, no anger, just calm power. "Sit," Amara said. Claire moved slowly, sitting on the edge of the chair like a student about to be scolded. Amara sat too. Her hands rested on the desk, fingers gently tapping the surface. "You want to understand, Claire?" she asked. Claire nodded. "Then listen to how I rose from nothing. 4 years ago, Amara's business was growing. Orders were increasing, and people started calling her the queen of modern furniture on social media. But behind the success, she was still struggling. She was rejected by 4 banks. Again, even with a working business. One loan officer even told her, "Your business seems okay, but we prefer someone with a stronger background." That word stayed in her head. Stronger. Did they mean someone else? Someone not like her? Amara didn't wait for banks anymore. She used the money from every sale to build slowly, brick by brick. Her team worked long nights. Sometimes there was no heat in the winter. Sometimes the delivery van broke down, but they pushed forward. She trained her workers herself, treated them like family, paid them on time, even when it meant skipping her own meals. She remembered one night clearly. Her sister walked into the workshop at 2 a.m. Amara was still working, hands full of glue and wood dust. "You need rest," her sister said. Amara smiled weakly. "Rest comes later. Greatness comes first." 3 years ago, A big business magazine wanted to interview her. A journalist came to visit. But when he entered the store and saw Amara, he asked, "Oh, is the owner around?" "I am the owner," she said. He looked surprised. "Really?" That interview never got published. They replaced her with someone else, a white male CEO. Amara didn't cry. She just worked harder. 2 years ago, she bought the building. It had once rejected her. Now it was hers. She remembered walking into the store the first time as an owner. The sun was rising. The lights were off. Everything was quiet. She stood in the middle of the floor, closed her eyes, and whispered, "This is mine now. I built this. No one gave it to me." She hung a picture of her parents near the door. Her father's dream was to own a business. Her mother once told her, "Even if the world doesn't see your worth, make sure you do." That's what Amara did, every single day. Back to the present. Claire sat quietly, tears in her eyes. "I didn't know you went through all that," she said softly. "I know you didn't," Amara replied. "But that's why I'm telling you. Not for your guilt, but for your growth." Claire nodded slowly. "You thought I was just some stranger walking in to cause trouble. But I was walking into my own store. My name is on every paper, every receipt, every wall." Amara leaned forward, her voice calm but sharp. "You don't get to decide who belongs. Not by skin color, not by clothes, not by what you think you see." Claire couldn't stop the tears now. "You're right. I was wrong. I was afraid for the wrong reason. Fear," Amara said, "becomes dangerous when it controls our actions. You didn't just fear me. You called the police." Claire looked down. "I thought I was protecting the store." "By attacking the owner?" Amara asked. "That's how bias works. Quiet, hidden, but dangerous." Amara stood up, walking to the office window. Outside, customers were still shopping, unaware of what was happening inside. She took a deep breath, then turned back. "I'm not asking you to be perfect, Claire. I'm asking you to be better." Claire stood up too. Her voice was shaky but honest. "I will. I promise. I'll learn. I'll listen. I'll change." Amara looked at her. "Then your first step is to understand. This store isn't just about furniture. It's about dreams. And I protect mine." Claire nodded. "I want to help protect it too," she said. Amara walked to the door and opened it. "We'll see," she said. "Now go. We have work to do." Claire stepped out of the office like she was stepping into a new world. Her heart was still beating fast. Her cheeks were still warm from crying. She felt like everyone was staring at her. And maybe they were. Some staff members looked confused. Others looked disappointed. No one said anything, but Claire could feel it. The tension, the whispers, the quiet judgment. She went behind the counter and sat down, trying to look normal. But nothing felt normal anymore. Later that day, the store was quiet. Most of the customers had left. The air felt heavy. One of the younger staff members, Mia, came over to Claire. Her voice was cold. "Was it true?" she asked. "You called the police on Ms. Johnson?" Claire nodded, eyes on the floor. "I did." "Why?" Maya asked. "She didn't even do anything." "I know," Claire whispered. Mia crossed her arms. "You've worked here for 3 years. She trusted you, and the first time she came in looking different, you treated her like a criminal." Claire didn't try to explain. There was no excuse that could fix it. Mia walked away without another word. The next morning, Claire came in early, earlier than anyone else. She opened the store, cleaned the floors, wiped the counters. She even brought coffee for the team. But no one said thank you. She felt like a ghost in the store, visible, but unwanted. Then Amara walked in. She looked fresh, focused, like nothing had happened. But when she looked at Claire, her face stayed serious. "Morning," Claire said softly. Amara gave a small nod. Come to my office. We have work to do. Inside the office, Claire stood while Amara flipped through a file. Do you know what I believe in, Claire? Amara asked without looking up. Claire stayed silent. I believe in second chances, Amara said, but not for free. You have to earn it. I want to, Claire said quickly. I really do. Then prove it, Amara said. Starting today, you're no longer working behind the counter. You're shadowing me. Every day. You'll learn everything about this business, how it runs, what it stands for, and the people it serves. Claire was shocked. Wait, you want me to learn from you? I want you to see what you almost destroyed, Amara replied. This store is more than walls and products. It's about respect, dignity, and growth. I don't want employees who just sell. I want people who understand. Claire's throat tightened. Thank you. I won't waste it. Amara nodded. We'll see. That week, Claire followed Amara everywhere. From meetings with designers to early morning deliveries, she learned how Amara spoke to clients with care, how she encouraged her team, how she noticed everything, from a dusty corner to a nervous intern. She saw a different side of her boss, a side that was not just strong, but also gentle, kind, and fair. And the more Claire learned, the more ashamed she felt of what she had done. One night, as they were closing up, Claire asked quietly, Why didn't you fire me? Amara paused before answering. Because I've been judged too many times. I know how it feels. I didn't want to become like the people who gave up on me. Claire looked at her with deep respect. You're nothing like them. No, Amara said softly, but I still remember how they made me feel. And I remember how I rose anyway. End of the week. Claire stood at the front of the store again, but this time with a new role, not as a cashier, not as a watcher, but as a student of the journey. Mia walked past and stopped. You're still here. Claire nodded. Still learning. Still trying. Mia gave her a small, surprised smile. Good. I hope you keep at it. Claire smiled back. Just a little. Back in the office, Amara looked at the notebook she always kept on her desk, the same one from years ago. The first page still said, One day I will own something big. She flipped to a new page and wrote, One day I will build something bigger, people. Because success, she knew now, wasn't just about owning things. It was about lifting others, even the ones who made mistakes. 2 weeks had passed since Claire started shadowing Amara. Every day, she showed up early, stayed late, and asked questions. She worked harder than she ever had before. She wanted to change, and everyone could see that. Slowly, her coworkers began to soften. Mia started talking to her again. Others even smiled at her. But Claire knew, respect takes time. And trust, that takes even longer. Still, she felt hope. For the first time, she felt like she was becoming someone new. But then the test came. And it came fast. Monday afternoon. The store was busy. A man walked in wearing a large hoodie, his jeans ripped at the knees. His shoes were dirty. His beard was messy. He looked around the store quietly, hands in his pockets. Some of the staff noticed him. One whispered, He looks shady. Another said, What's he even doing here? Claire stood at the counter, watching. The old version of her would have panicked. The old version might have picked up the phone. But now, she paused, watched, thought. Don't judge. Ask, listen, understand. She walked over to the man slowly with a smile. Hi there. Welcome in. Can I help you with anything? The man looked surprised. I'm just looking around. No problem, she said kindly. If you need help, I'm here. He nodded and walked to a corner. Some employees gave Claire a look, the same look she once gave others. But she didn't care. A few minutes later, Amara walked in. Claire met her at the door and said quietly, There's a guy in the back. Some staff are nervous. But I spoke to him. He's calm. I think he's just shy. Amara looked at Claire carefully. You didn't judge him. Claire shook her head. I remembered what you told me. About being seen as a problem before being seen as a person. Amara nodded once. Let's see how this plays out. 10 minutes later, the man came to the counter with a photo on his phone. Do you make custom desks? He asked Claire. We do, she said. I don't have a lot of money, he said honestly, but I want to surprise my daughter. She just passed her exams. Wants to be a writer. She needs a good desk. Claire smiled. That's beautiful. Let's see what we can do. She sat with him, showed him options, helped him choose materials within his budget. She treated him like a king. And when they finished, he smiled wide. Thank you, he said. Most places don't treat me like this. Claire looked into his eyes and said, everyone deserves to be treated with respect. Everyone. Amara was watching from her office window the whole time. She saw it all. Later that evening, she called Claire into her office. Inside the office, Amara sat with her hands folded. She looked serious. I saw what you did today, she said. Claire stood nervously. I just did what I thought was right. Amara nodded slowly. You passed the test. Claire blinked. Test. That man, Amara said, was someone I met years ago at a free design workshop. He builds furniture too. I asked him to stop by, to see how far you've really come. Claire was shocked. You set it up. Amara gave a small smile. Not to trick you. To show you that growth is real when actions speak louder than words. Claire sat down, overwhelmed. I didn't want to fail again. Amara looked her in the eyes. You didn't fail. You rose. That night, as the lights turned off and the store became quiet, Claire stood alone for a moment. She looked around. The same place where she once made a mistake was now the place where she was rebuilding herself. She thought of that man, of his daughter, of her dream of becoming a writer. And she whispered to herself, everyone deserves a desk. Everyone deserves a chance. 1 month had passed since the incident. The luxury furniture store had returned to its normal rhythm. Customers browsing, soft music playing, staff working together like a well-oiled machine. But something had changed inside those walls. Something quiet, but powerful. That something was Claire. She walked through the store with confidence, not pride, but purpose. She greeted everyone, helped where needed, learned where she didn't know. Her energy was no longer cold or nervous. It was warm, calm, and open. People noticed. Even customers complimented her. She's very helpful. She really listened. Feels like she understands. Claire no longer looked at people and saw danger. She looked at them and saw stories, just like Amara had taught her. Friday morning, Amara called a team meeting. Everyone gathered near the front counter, wondering what the announcement was about. Amara stood with her usual grace, confident, sharp, and smiling slightly. I have something important to share, she said. Today marks 1 year since I officially took over this store as full owner. Everyone clapped. Amara continued, it hasn't been an easy road. We've grown, made mistakes, learned, and moved forward. But growth doesn't happen in silence. It happens in action. And that's why today, I want to introduce our new assistant manager. Everyone looked around in surprise. Amara turned toward Claire. Claire has shown incredible growth, not just as an employee, but as a human being. Claire's eyes widened. She didn't expect this. She made a mistake, a big one. Amara continued. But instead of running away or hiding, she stayed. She listened. She learned. She changed. People started clapping. Some louder than others. Some slower. But all were real. Claire stepped forward, her voice shaking. I don't know what to say. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying every single day. Thank you for believing in me. Amara gave her a soft look. You've earned it. Later that evening, Claire stood near the front window, looking out at the sunset. The store lights reflected softly on the glass. Amara walked up beside her. "You okay?" she asked. Claire nodded. "I was just thinking about how full circles work," Claire said. "A month ago, I thought you were a stranger. Today, you're the person who changed my life." Amara smiled gently. "I didn't change your life, Claire. You did that. I just opened a door. You walked through it." There was a pause. Then Claire asked, "Can I show you something?" "Of course." Upstairs, in the break room, Claire opened her bag and pulled out a small wooden box. Handcrafted. Clean lines, smooth polish. "I made this," she said. "Took night classes in woodworking after our talk. It's simple, but it's honest." Amara opened the box. Inside was a small card. It read, "To the woman who saw more than a mistake and gave me a second chance." Amara closed the box slowly. No words came at first, just a smile and a look of pride. "Thank you, Claire," she said softly. "That means more than you know." Claire looked at her. "It's only the beginning."